Foam rolling your middle back is without a doubt one of the most effective ways to increase the mobility of your thoracic spine. Unfortunately, the vast majority of people out there are using this technique incorrectly, and because of that, it often ends up doing more harm than good. So in this video, we're going to talk about who should and who should not be foam rolling their thoracic spine, as well as how to properly incorporate this technique to achieve the best possible results with regard to your posture and functionality. Let's get into this. In order to understand who should and who should not be foam rolling their middle back, we need to understand what causes a thoracic spine to become stiff and rigid in the first place. And in my experience, there are two main reasons for this type of stiffness and rigidity. The first is what I call squeaky hinges. And anybody who's ever gone to open a door that hasn't been open for a really long time is going to instantly understand what I mean by that. Because when you go to open a door like that, what happens is it's really stiff, it's hard to move, and once you do finally get that door moving, it's really noisy. It makes a squeaky or a crunchy sound at the hinges because the lubrication at those joints has either dried out or dripped away over time. Well, guess what? Your spine is exactly like that. The joints of your spine only receive nutrition in the presence of motion. When movement at the joint takes place, synovial fluid is secreted. That synovial fluid lubricates the joint, it brings in nutrients, and it flushes out waste products. In the absence of joint motion, the joints dry out, they're starved of nutrition, and they accumulate waste products. This leads to unhealthy joints. One of the classic signs of an unhealthy joint is joint stiffness. And the second reason for a stiff and rigid middle back is something I call compensatory hyperkyphosis. And what's happening in these situations is that the structure and function of the thoracic spine have been altered in direct response to structural changes elsewhere in the body. To understand how this works, you need to know a little something about forward head position. So the human head weighs 10 to 12 pounds, and when you're in a neutral position with the secondary curve in your neck intact and your ear is stacked directly on top of your shoulder, that is the load that your body is bearing. But as your head begins inching out in front of your body, it becomes significantly heavier. Specifically, 10 pounds heavier for each inch that it shifts forward. So a head that shifts forward 1 inch now weighs 20 pounds. A head that shifts forward 3 inches now weighs 40 pounds. Here's a simple example to help illustrate this point. This is a 10-pound dumbbell, and when I hold it like this, close to the center line of my body, my bicep doesn't have to work very hard to keep that weight up. But the further that I move that weight away from the midline of my body, the more my bicep struggles to hold the weight. Same thing happens with the head. And what the body often does in response to a forward head position is it begins shifting the middle back backwards as a way of counterbalancing all that extra weight that's out in front of you. In addition to that, it'll begin locking down and increasing rigidity in the thoracic spine to help support the increased load. So these are two completely different situations that we're talking about. For the person with squeaky hinges, the stiffness and rigidity in their middle back are representative of maladaptive degenerative type changes that are occurring because of disuse. And in cases like that, using a foam roller to help increase mobility in the joints of the thoracic spine is perfectly appropriate. But for the person with a compensatory hyperkyphosis, the outward bowing and stiffening of the thoracic spine are actually adaptive. They're helping you to support the increased load of your head in that abnormal position. And so the last thing in the world that you'd want to do is go in with a foam roller and start breaking up the intelligent changes that your body has made to help make you more efficient. The question is, which of these two categories do you fall into? To get the answer to that question, we need to be able to rule out a forward head position. And for that, we're going to be using one simple assessment called the flat lying test. Now you might be saying to yourself, wait a second, couldn't I just have somebody turn sideways, drop a vertical line down from the hole of their ear to the floor and see how their head lines up with their shoulder? Well, yeah, structural assessments can provide a valuable data point. But for the untrained eye, those types of assessments can be tricky. Plus, people have a tendency to straighten up and stand really well when they know you're assessing their posture. But functional assessments like the flat lying test, they never lie. To perform the flat lying test, just go flat down on your back on a firm surface. Your head and neck should be completely relaxed. Legs are going to be extended straight out in front of you. Hands will be positioned along the sides of your body, palms facing up. From here, what you're looking at is the position of the head and neck. Specifically, you want to see that the back of the head is flat in contact with the floor and that your forehead and your chin are directly in line with one another, and that line should be running parallel to the ground. Now, if you see that and you've got stiffness and rigidity, well, then you're probably dealing with squeaky hinges. If, however, you try to get into this position and you can't get the back of your head in contact with the floor, instead, it's the top of your head that touches the ground, and the line from your forehead to your chin is jutting upwards like this, or worse yet, you can't even get your head into contact with the ground, well, then you're almost certainly dealing with a compensatory hyperkyphosis. If the results of the flat line test point towards squeaky hinges, then foam rolling your middle back could be really helpful for you. To do that, using a traditional foam roller like this, you'll take the roller and place it directly behind your back. From there, you're gonna lean back into it nice and easy. Then, keeping your knees bent to 90 degrees, you're gonna gently elevate your rear end off the floor, loading your body weight onto that foam roller, and you'll slowly begin rolling your back across the roller. The first couple rolls are what I call a scan. You're basically rolling the entire length of your thoracic spine, looking for the most stiff or rigid part. Once you've identified that, you can shorten the length of your roll. I'm talking like just 6 to 10 inches, a very concentrated area, focusing directly on that stiff area. You'll then just go back and forth with that concentrated roll for 30 to 60 seconds. If, however, the results of your flat lying test point in the direction of a compensatory hyperkyphosis, well, then you should absolutely not be foam rolling your middle back, and instead you should focus your energy on restoring the normal secondary curve to your neck and getting your head back into an optimal carry position and strengthening all of the muscles of your postural uprighting system. This can do wonders for offloading and softening your middle back by removing the very conditions that led your body to make those compensatory changes in the first place. And if you want to know about the most effective and efficient way to do that, I've got a video that talks all about it, and you can see that by clicking the link in the upper right-hand corner of your screen now. So it's not that foam rolling is a bad tool. On the contrary, it can be a great tool. But you have to know how to use the tool appropriately and which situations call for its use. When you do that, you can enjoy all of the benefits that the tool has to offer while avoiding any potential downsides. And I hope that this video helps people to do exactly that. And if you'd like to see a video about the best options out there in terms of foam rollers for mobilizing the thoracic spine, leave me a comment down below and I'll make that video for you guys. Beyond that, I just want to thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and the subscribe button before you head out of here, and I'll see you next time.